Okay, so today I will be doing the ninja demonstration in practice, starting at floor 21 of Heaven on High. And in doing so, it will be a little bit different from a normal dungeon run with ninja. Okay, 3. So I will get to show a little bit of what makes ninja special in deep dungeons specifically. Okay, I must have hallucinated that there's a chest there. Okay. On these low of floors, there's also a little bit different style of deconstruction, as things tend to die a lot more quickly, and therefore I get to use my skills a lot more spread out. The way that you optimize damage will be via a sort of prioritization system, wherein you are planning what you do around getting your highest skills, getting your highest damage skills used, and preferably used in buff windows. So, in Ninja's rotation, its highest damage for single targets will usually be like in this level. So we want to try to get those in as much as possible. It is in particular most effective in exhausted.
Mic off. Mic on.
And frailty. Frailty reduces the essentially okay, that missed, or else I would be able to use my trick attack. Blind floors cause blindness more frequently, and therefore they're kind of a pain in the ass. Yes, okay. And another intuition palm. Let's see. So there are a few different aggro types in deep dungeons, and that will determine whether hide will be effective or not. In most regular dungeons, most enemies will be either proximity or in a group with something that's proximity, so you don't really get much use out of hide aside from between poles, which I will show a bit more about dungeon structure and pull structure in my tanking videos. And you'll get to see a little bit more of how that typically goes and how giant pulls end up looking. I will probably recruit a healer friend of mine, I trust very much with my life. Mostly because he gets mad if I don't trust him with my life. He is the type of healer who gives me a frowny face if I use my invult, even though my invult is literally just a mitt. So, MIT stands for mitigation. It is usually used to refer to a specific subset of mitigation, which is just damage reduction. There are, however, a number of different types of mitigation. There is damage reduction, there is shielding, which... Okay, I don't have my settings in a way that will allow me to show a shield this way right now. But shielding is kind of like an overheal. There is what my friend and I like to call retroactive mitigation, which is just a fancy way of saying healing. There is damage as mitigation, and there is movement as mitigation, also known as kiting. Now, I am not yet doing a lot of optimization in my rotation at this point because I'm on very low floors of Heaven on High. I will show a slightly more optimized version of the rotation during the boss fight on the 10th floor of the set. Because the boss will actually live long enough for me to be able to do that. Alright. Really? Not procced yet? Okay. I've got to kill more stuff before I can move on to the next floor. There's one. So, one thing you may have noticed over the course of this demonstration is that my cooldowns are considerably lower when I am in Chitone, as opposed to when this buff runs out. Oops, I thought that I saw the exit proc, it was just the Cairn of Return. Beacon of Return. Safety, I don't need. Alright, so Huthon essentially shortens your cooldown so that you get more attacks per minute. More global cooldowns per minute. The reduction is still small enough that you can typically weave 2 OGCDs or off global cooldowns between each cooldown. which is very important for getting as much damage as possible into your debuff window. I've been calling it a buff window, but Ninja essentially has debuffs that inflict a target with a single and essentially make it so that target takes more damage from your, and in the case of Mug, your party's attacks. And those last for 20 seconds and 15 seconds, respectively. So you want to try to get the skills into both. When that is not possible, you at least want to get your skills into one or the other. Typically, you'll have Trick Attack up if you have Mug up, unless you've dropped it. So, unless you've essentially used up your mudras before you get your sweet I'll also be more proactive about controlling when I am on higher floors as well. So, ooh, raising. That's really nice. We love raisins here. Almost every DPS class and every DPS job, the rotation is fairly similar. Your goal is to try to weave as many OGCDs as possible during buff or debuff window, although Ninja is one of the only ones with a debuff, I believe, is Reaper is fun to climb on, so I feel like it becomes a little too simple and ends up feeling a little bit empty as a result. Ninja, you get the fun little DDR minigame, which the way to determine what mudra you are going to get is dependent on two things. First, how many mudras you use. If you use one mudra, it will always be sugar. If you use two mudras, it will be rifle, and if it ends in fen, it will be carton, the 4 or less target AoE. If you do two mudras and it ends in Jin, it will be your bind. If you do 3 ninjas, if it ends in 10, it is huton. If it ends in 2, it is doton, which is the 5 or more target AoE. And if it ends in Jin, it is Suiton. So we are going to play the fun petrification game now. And try to kill as many things as we can on our way through this floor. Petrification palms are essentially a debuff that if an enemy that is petrified takes any damage at all, they are immediately killed. So they are very useful, very important for the higher floors. Especially in the 91 to 100 set, where you want to have as many floor clears as possible. That's a landmine. I'm gonna demonstrate something cool with Ninja now. A lot of jobs can do something similar to this. Basically anything with a dash, although some jobs are easier than others to trigger landmines without taking damage yourself. All tanks can use their mitt on that, though you want to be a little bit careful doing that on Gunbreaker specifically, because lag can actually kill you in that circumstance if you get to 1 HP from your invuln, but the application of the buff lags, or your mouse lags and you accidentally right-click the buff. Because here's what happens if you right-click a buff. No longer have that buff. Okay, now I just need to find the exit. So I am going to go over personals. So personals will be the same as every other melee job. You have second wind, which is a heal. You have bloodbath, which is a you have leg sweep, which is stun, and you have arm's length, which is a mitt in the sense that it causes a slow debuff on enemies while moving slow that because this does require them to hit you. It isn't very useful in normal dungeons unless the tank drops or you are, for some other reason, taking aggro. But it is very useful in deep dungeons where you are likely to either be solo or in some other party configuration that does not have a tank. So you also have Feint, which is a mitt that works better on physical damage than magic damage. So if something just punches really hard, you are the one mitigating that. Let's see. That's a luring trap. Okay, let's see. Yuki's are proximity. See the Hatamoto there. This part is did extremely efficiently. Gotta wait 1 moment. In case that silver is a landmine. Alright, auto heal penalty again. Figured as much. HOJs are sound, so as long as this is mimic. Nope, they're proximity. No, they would have to be sound because they didn't trigger the first time. Yeah. Okay. This is an annoying room, but because I'm going to want as many checks as possible for later, because I'm a loot goblin, I promise, I'm going to deal with it. Hiding. Just like a black cat, always hiding. I originally changed my hair because I was previously a ginger kitty, and therefore I had to share a brain cell with all of the other ginger kitties. And oftentimes it wasn't my turn with the brain cell when it was deep dungeon time. And deep dungeons very much require the brain cell. It is very easy to end up fucking up and completely lose your run. Speaking of things that can cost you your run, not as big of an issue on these floors because mimics are fairly tame, fairly unthreatening at this range, but mimics are total dicks when you get to higher floors. A friend of mine once opened a mimic while I was eating a chip between floors, and that was the end of that. Game? Why isn't the exit triggering? Am I about to lose my run to an internet connection issue? I'm about to lose my run to an internet connection issue. Okay. Well, that was short. But that's life. That is disappointing, frustrating life. This is also why you don't want to risk people ending up on the floor during deep dungeon runs with teams, because if everyone's dead and you disconnect, then everyone loses. Because you die when you disconnect. So that's fun. A friend of mine lost his Deep Dungeon Palace of the Dead run on floor 191 to a disconnect. So, sucks to have sucky internet, I guess. Oh, that's cute. They used the Twin Adder coat with the cute little winter hat. That's a good glam. I like that glam. Okay, party KO 1. It is so disappointing having to do this on floor frickin' 21 to 30, but this won't count for the achievements. So, in the interest of brevity for today's demonstration, I am going to go ahead and go to my FC house and use the striking dummy to do the demonstration of the proper full rotation at 70. And you will see there will be a ton of button presses. I do a lot of clicking of my skills, so you will be able to see where all of the skills are being used, where the mouse lands on every one of them. Oops, that was wrong. That was habit from earlier level and to some extent deep dungeon rotations. Okay, so. Frickin' performance anxiety, that's what it's gotta be. Now I've gotta wait for a couple of minutes while I get my cooldowns back. So, bunny on my head, bunny of shame. And while I'm at it, I might as well harvest these void drakes, because I planted them like a week or two ago. Probably more than that. I don't have any void drake seeds on me. They're all on my other characters. I need to have Kevin help me retrieve my Void Drake's Eads from my alt so that I can plant them at the FC house. Most of my alts are also in RFC, so I could use the FC chest for part of that, but I'm not sure which alts do and don't have access anymore. And I don't feel like setting up those permissions right now. That said, Grahatia, we're not gonna screw up our rotation again, are we? Are we, you cute little floof? He's so cute. Please ignore the fishing pole. Okay. Now that I have my cooldowns back, managed to fit all of that into our mug trick. That was 2 debuffs, 2 OGCDs, a Kasatsu, and 2 additional mudras. Now, at a later point in time, there will be a point where you're using Suiton from your Tenchijin to proc a Mesui, which is it's an OGCD that allows you to get an extra 50 on this gauge and allows you to get an extra hit out of this. Which is another one of your OGCDs. Overall, I hope that that demonstration has been helpful in showing essentially what makes Ninja so cool, as well as what makes Ninja so interesting to play in deep dungeons. And at some point in the near future, I will go ahead and do one on Paladin. Okay, how much time do I have to... There we go. So, Paladin is my favorite job. I'm really looking forward to that one. But Ninja is my second favorite job because after your initial opener window, a lot of it is about managing your ninjutsu so that you can proc and keep your cooldowns up. At lower levels, you'll be doing a lot of managing your Keystone. At higher levels, you will be using Keystone whenever Trick Attack has a cooldown of less than 20 seconds and you've got a Mudra coming up. As to be able to get your Trick Attack up. And at higher levels, you will also be focusing on timing your other skills, like your Tenchijin and your Mesui, to be able to use those on cooldown as well. You want to try to save the mudras that you can without capping for that mug trick attack window. And that's really all there is to it. It is a very fun job, a very mobile job. You can be all the way over here and still hit stuff with a rifle. So it's also the melee job that has the most flexibility in its range. And for those who have played Paladin, you know that Paladin has a very similar set of strengths. That said, as far as my ninja play, I am gradually working on optimizing, but I of course am not perfect, as we have seen by my many mistakes in that very short period of time. And many mistakes in the even deep dungeon portion where I kept dropping my futon. That's actually the most common mistake that ninjas make, is just you turn your brain off, you lose your buff. But if you are willing to put the focus in to be able to manage all of the spinning plates, then you can really enjoy the heck out of this job. Plus, call out to the flippy dippies.